Good afternoon, David.
Afternoon, how you doing? Now you've frozen already. But you're not frozen because it's nice and warm.
I've not just frozen, I've disappeared. I mean, I've disappeared.
But you've disappeared. No, I can see you fine.
Well, I can't see nothing. I've got a blank screen.
All right, okay.
Which is going to make life difficult when we've got some things to put up.
Yes. Can you go out and come back in again, please? Thank you. Is somebody twittering about with our feed by any chance?
Somebody called Kevin at Restreams just contacted me to say I can leave the page or I can wait. So I need to upload the page. I need to reopen the page, David.
Bloody hell. Right. All right. Okay. Hey guys, just you and me. I'm not going to start with any noises, but there's lots happening at the moment, and lots of things to look at and think. Have we been led a line here? So Dave comes. There he is. There. Hey, and you're the wrong side.
Sorry about that, folks. Say Kevin, tell me. I get contacted with Restream there, tell me to exit the page.
Yeah.
And it reloaded the page.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about, but that's what it was.
It's David. It's always say in your house. It's Charlie's got his pet mouse. His pet mouse is on the wee treadmill, and sometimes that wee mouse stops pendling the treadmill, and that's when you're and then it goes back. And come on, be honest. Tell us.
No, actually, it was Restream. As I say, I got a wee box pop up with somebody called Kevin saying you need to exit the page.
Oh, is that Kevin from Birmingham? I
don't know who the hell he is. Right, that's Facebook on board, David. We've got a lot to get through today.
Yes, let's go. Come on.
You'll be aware that the mainstream media, especially the broadcast media, have been all over the Scottish Fiscal Commission's report telling us that NHS funding going forward would be unsustainable. You will have heard that all over the place.
Yes.
It's due to ageing population, apparently. And low birth rate.
Well, as you quite rightly said, it's fixable. Of course it is.
Aye. But
just get a lot more people in the door, that's it.
Actually, it's fixable even without that, David.
Yeah.
Because what this mainstream media having to tell you, me, and everybody out there was that the Scottish Fiscal Commission ran two reports at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Did two studies in the one report. In one there was a negative outcome, and in the other one there was a positive outcome.
Yeah. Now, and all we've seen from the mainstream media is the negative side, and that's it.
Well,
now, can I just say that seems to be a thread that we have running all the way through the reports for today.
Yes.
The fact that mainstream media are effectively lying to us is propaganda by omission. They're leaving out anything good, you know.
Anyway, in the study, in base studies, it says health spend would be sustainable if the population's health improved.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, the Scottish Government have been putting in an awful lot of programmes to help health improve, like the poverty eradicating projects that are underway.
Yeah.
The active mobility routes that have been put everywhere, the walking routes, the biking routes and things like that, to get people active. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's been the health programmes that have been run, like your 5 a day and things like that.
Yeah.
And all the healthy eating advertising. And then there's been things like ensuring that women get women's health products free in public buildings and things like that. These are all health improvement.
We should then talk about health, right? You've got the baby boxes. That's an advertisement we saw there from the SNP. 335,000 baby boxes delivered and installed, if you like, since 2017.
Excellent. These are all health improving measures, right?
Yeah.
We also now see that waiting lists are coming down.
Yeah.
Got a wee video there. This would be the apt time to play it, would it? No. I'll get it lined up. This would be the apt time to play this. This was 6 days ago in the Scottish Parliament.
Yep.
That's the one.
In April 2024, the Scottish Government provided additional funding to NHS boards to deliver 64,000 additional procedures by March of 2025. By the end of January, 75,500 additional procedures had been delivered. We promised 64,000 over a whole year. Within 10 months, we delivered 75,500. In addition to that, in all 4 key radiology diagnostic tests have shown a decrease, with a 4% decrease in the total waiting list size for diagnostic tests. So I accept there are challenges, but the Scottish Government is focused on delivering progress for the people of Scotland, and that's what we're delivering now.
There are many other sections or facets to this. CAMS just broke all their targets. That's just one that we've pinpointed on, that's all.
And then, of course, there's the fact that young people don't smoke.
Yep.
They're not drinking the way that we drank in our younger days.
Yep.
Most of them are off doing the gym, most of them are gym bunnies.
Yep. My own daughter, she's got health food galore, right? She's got me drinking apple cider vinegar, right, for all the health benefits I've got. If you don't know about them, for goodness sake, look it up.
I'll leave the listening stuff to you. I'll leave the listening stuff to you guys. But the point is, the health improvements being made means that scenario 2 being run at the same time as the doomsday scenario was the most likely outcome.
Yep.
And scenario 2 says that no just will health spending become sustainable, it will drop under scenario 2. Why weren't the people of Scotland told about scenario 2?
Yeah, it's to keep them down, keep them demoralised. That's it. It's demoralisation. Propaganda.
Based on the fact that they only told us about one of the scenarios run by the Scottish Fiscal Commission, we had the Tory health spokesperson, the Tory leader, telling the Parliament this was because the Scottish Government couldn't keep within their budget, that healthcare spending is at risk.
What budget is that?
That'll be a budget that's been reduced by 11% by his imperial fucking masters.
Yeah, but right. We get back. We give down so much money. We give so much money back. Forgetting the numbers, right?
We get so much.
Are we allowed to spend over that?
No.
Right. Well, so what budgets have we broken? What
We haven't busted any budget at all. But this is just nonsense in the press that's been allowed by the fact that they only reported one scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
If they'd reported the fact that the Fiscal Commission had run 2 scenarios, and one of them found health spending not just sustainable, but could decrease as the generations coming through are more healthy, like when we talk about poverty figures, and the child poverty initiatives and the feeding kids in school, these are all health initiatives. So they should all play out in the long run to benefit the health of the nation. So So scenario 2, which wasn't reported on, is the most likely outcome.
Yeah. I mean, what you're describing there is a system in Scotland that we've got that's gathering pace. It's getting better and better and better and better and better, right? And what we've got is we've got the mainstream media and the English government effectively going, no, it's much worse than that. Everybody listen, look this direction, don't look at them, look at us, right?
And that's why I go and get the reports.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous. Because I didn't hear anybody in the mainstream media or the printed press today or yesterday talk about the second scenario run by the Scottish Fiscal Commission in the report.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, people? That's real interesting. That's what we call selective broadcasting. That's what we call cherry-picking reports and only throwing out the bits you want people to know about.
It's what we call propaganda by omission.
Propaganda.
Joseph Goebbels, eat your fucking heart out. Seriously. You bastards. Who's that? Liz. Well done, Liz. Thank you very much. And Guruk, enjoy the sunshine, eh?
Aye. Thanks very much, Liz. Now, as I say,
can you read it out, David? David, can you read it out? My camera's in the way.
Here in Guruk, we have a pop-up shop that every few weeks has free sanitary products for those who need. That's a great idea, Liz.
Thanks
you for letting us know, and thanks for the donation. As I say, but it is interesting that none of the mainstream outlets talked about the other scenario. They only talked about the doomsday scenario, where they tell us things are no sustainable. Whereas the same report said, actually, with X, Y, and Z, most of which is being done in Scotland, health spending will be sustainable.
Yeah.
Now, folks, you can look up the Scottish Fiscal Commission report yourself. It's on the government website. As I say, they run two scenarios. And the second scenario is more likely the outcome because of the investment being spent on keeping people out of poverty, raising them out of poverty, and improving healthcare outcomes here in Scotland. Things like the minimum unit health, minimum alcohol unit cost for alcohol. It's brought down a binge drinking a fair bit in Scotland, as they call it.
Yeah, all right. Look, let's see if we get rid of all the bad killers like the drugs and the alcohol and you name it, obesity and whatever, right? And everybody's all fine, and the NHS is down to a fraction of the size that it was, right? Okay. At what point do we say, how long has an English government got then to do more damage so that it does become untenable?
Well, that is the problem, you see. When the Tories they talk about nobody else stay within funding, and we've got Labour talking about mismanagement. Everybody's missing the elephant in the room, and that's despite Westminster's best efforts to derail Scotland. Remember, our block grant's been cut by 11% since 2016, and the Labour government are about to knock another billion off it by 2029. Guess how big the health spending gap's projected to be by 2029?
So, what?
£1 billion. Unless health outcomes improve. Sorry, that's 2050, £1 billion. But if health outcomes don't improve. But the most likely outcome is that health outcomes are going to improve.
So what you're saying is that Scotland is like someone walking along a road with umpteen people trying to trip them up or throw banana skins on the floor or whatever, right? And that to me is just ridiculous. This is time.
Well, you heard Reeves talking to Dave Duggan in the Commons. Yep. Be thankful for the Barnett formula. Be thankful we give you back some of your own money, peasant. colony.
Yeah.
You heard it. It was on television.
Yeah.
But as I say, the mainstream media ran with the doomsday scenario in this report instead of running away. The other scenario in the report, the most likely outcome, unless, of course, Westminster keep cutting and cutting and cutting. And then poverty levels will increase. Healthcare outcomes will become worse. The progress being made here will be reversed.
Yeah. Right, anyway, okay, right.
But as I say, it's a fine example of propaganda, folks.
Yeah, by omission.
You can find the Fiscal Commission's report, Scottish Fiscal Commission's report, on the government website. That's where I found it. We're going to treat you like idiots. You know how to use your search engine. Right. Oh, by the way, the other interesting bit about this report, folks, and this was interesting. Apparently, our population, although our birth rate is down, our population will continue to increase until 2050, eventually stabilising in 2075. But the problem seems to be that the majority of the folk we're getting coming here have been coming here since 2008 for better public services, and their average age is 43. They're coming here just at the age, a couple of years before their kids want to go to university. They get free tuition fee. They're coming here just before the point where they're going to need access to medical services. But it's interesting. The Fiscal Commission is telling us that even though our population will rise, it's not going to help the health situation because the people coming are coming from elsewhere in the UK for our better services.
Well, the way to go then would be whereby we have control over immigration, and therefore we end up with people from Europe coming in to Scotland, and thereby watering down the number of people that are coming from England.
I don't begrudge these people a better outcome here.
I've no arguments with people from England, right? But I do worry that certain people that have arrived within a short time, as we discussed, would have less tendency to vote for independence.
Well, as I say, that's up to us to convince them, David. But I don't want to deny these people a better outcome than what they're getting down that road. You know, I'm not a selfish git.
Can you put up Stephen's comment? That's brilliant. Monty Python.
Oh, you have to do some research. Well, but as I say, that was the other interesting bit. The average age of people coming to Scotland is 43, whereas when we were in Europe, the average age was 23. You know. Right, let's move on. This ought to be interesting. The gender wars are coming to a crescendo, David. Thank fuck, they've been boring. But they're coming to an end. Now, the group Women for Scotland wanted a definition in law passed in the Scottish courts. In the Scottish courts, they didn't like it. Well, let's just say Women for Scotland didn't like the definition handed down by the Scottish courts. So they then went to London, to the UK Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is about to rule on the legal definition of a woman. Now, of course, Women for Scotland group, they want the legal definition to extend only to those who were born biologically women. Right? And of course, there's problems because we now have transgender people. Right? And how they identify and what their legal rights are under the Equalities Act and things like that. So it gets messy and complicated.
But it all comes down to this thing of what toilet are you going to use, and people being worried about that, about such a thing of where hang on, this is an area for women, that's an area for men, right? And I've got to, look, we're clever on that. If it comes down to that, it's like David said in the past, brilliant one, right? Where you get cubicles, where you got a big gap in the bottom, big gap at the top, build them floor to ceiling. That's it.
Near your aisles, everybody uses
the all compartments, all toilets, right? We're in the 21st century, for goodness sake, you know.
Well, I mean, look at how the BBC and all that deal with it. They have what you call unisex toilets. It's just a toilet, you get in, you lock the door, and nobody else can get in.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah. That's the way.
Anyway, because of the way the Equality Act and the gender recognition certificate is, the Supreme Court will make a definition of a woman in law.
In case anybody gets the brilliant idea of don't forget, where you've got a man coming in invading a woman's area, where that man might try and do something wrong. But that goes with a woman as well. Women nowadays are as strong as men are, some of them, right? And it's like, I'd feel funny about a certain woman purporting to be a man coming into my area and threatening me. You know what I mean?
So this gender thing is all about taking the piss. It's all about how you take a piss, more likely. But
I'll tell you what, send this down to the Supreme Court. Just say, can you write your name, your full name, second name, right, with your willy, or can you? As simple as that. Yeah.
Honestly, David, it's not somewhere I want to go, but I think it's fascinating.
I know.
How they're going to get rid of all these different issues. How the Supreme Court is going to rule.
Yeah, but the great thing is, now we're in a situation where the Supreme Court has to rule, right? They can't go, we really don't want to get involved in that, right? They've said they're going to give a rule, and that's it, end story. And now we can say, I refer to the Supreme Court, what they said, X, Y, Z. That's it, game over, right?
Well, as I say, I think it's a fascinating. To me, it's not something that really I have put much time thinking about.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, people are people. Let them go on with it. Now, as to the toilet problem and things like that, there's engineering solutions for that. We've spoken about this before.
Do you know what, in Glasgow, we've got two football teams. Two main football teams. One's called Rangers, and the other one's called Celtic. And see the supporters for that, they tear lumps at each other every chance they get. What do you think of that? Maybe we should go down to the Supreme Court and say, can we have just one football team, or can you name the football team that's causing the problem?
I'm quite happy with more than one gender. It's just can only be two.
But you try to say that these Partick Thistle supporters have got something to do with it? No.
What do you call it? But David, I mean, there's a football analogy we can say, but it will be fascinating because it will go right across so many areas of other laws, especially the Equality Act, on how trans people are treated, and they're still talking about single-sex spaces. Well, I'd say the answer's there. You just do away with them.
Yeah.
There are engineering solutions to it.
Yeah.
You know, a good example of a building with a lot of people in it, using what they call mixed-sex toilets.
Yeah, I'll give you a good analogy of that one, right? Okay.
I don't like actually too.
Remember the Disability Discrimination Act came in, right? All buildings had to have wheelchair access, had to have wheelchair accessible toilets and all the rest of it, right? Certain places still don't have that, right? Yeah. So you're given, as a disabled person, you're given a choice. Do you go and use that? Even if you're in a hurry, you might not be able to, right? Tough. That's what you've got.
Well, as I say, these are all engineering solutions that need to be found, David.
Yeah.
But when it comes to how you use a restroom, there is a solution to that. Single sex spaces I keep talking about. Well,
Yeah.
you know, just stay away with them.
Yeah.
Make communal areas public and make
Yep.
private areas private and usable by both sexes. Anyway, let's move on. NHS Scotland staff have been offered an 8% pay rise over 2 years, David. Inflation's currently at 2.8%.
Yep.
Would you say that would be fair?
That's not enough. It's not enough. We've seen what the inflation rate is at the moment. What is it? 2.8%, right? So just short of 3%. So we're talking about 4%. What's going to happen to the inflation rate going forward, based on Rachel from accounts, what she's done? Inflation's going up the way. That means
we're worried about. I would be worried about what Bonnie's done for a.
The offer of 4% per year is not enough to keep pace with what's going up with the prices. Remember, inflation is personal to each individual, right? Could be a lot worse than that for some people.
Well, you know, as you say, I don't know. I don't know where inflation is going to go. But based on where inflation is at the moment, 4% a year, if it stays around about that, as long as it stays under 4%, for me, that is a fair offer.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, come on, we know better than that. We know it's going up. We know that the Rachel Reeves has put in place fiscal policies that make things happen badly, and we know that
policies make things come down in price because people have less money available. When we're looking at inflationary pressures, then we're looking at what Donny's up to.
Yeah.
But as I say, time will tell. But it's up to the trade unions and the BMA and all these to get round the table and hash it out with the government. But you know what? I predict every time people want higher inflation or inflation busting pay rises, public services get worse because people lose their jobs. There's only so much in the kitty, and the kitty's being shrunk by Rachel for accounts. You know, so sometimes you've just got to temper it and take it. It's about taking a longer view.
Time for
the other story we'll go here before.
Sorry?
The other NHS story we'll go is the NHS boards, for non-clinical reasons, are running into trouble. The non-clinical reasons, folks, have got to do with the cost of living crisis and what they're being charged for energy and what they're being charged to feed the patients. And thrown top of that, the change to the NHS, the change to national insurance, pulling a fair chunk out their budgets as well. We're seeing 10 boards here in Scotland having to go to the Scottish Government looking for loans.
So in actual fact, for our NHS to operate properly, what we require is fiscal, economic stability. Things are stable all the way across. All these health boards can manage to wangle away. We'll spend less than spend a bit more on that, or the rest of it, right? Whereas if they're going up like that, they've got no chance of any forward planning, right? And no other choice but to go and ask for help. And eventually it's going to come to the point they're not going to get help. They're not going to.
It's interesting that the clinical budgets are not being bashed. It's the budget for running the estate, for covering wages, for feeding people. You know, they're the ones that are being bashed. They're where the money's having to come from. Each time there's another battering with this cost of living crisis being engineered in another country, in another parliament 400 odd miles away. So that was an interesting story, but they're all meant to be SNP bad stories. But we have to keep going back to West Street, and all roads lead to Westminster.
Yeah. Westminster.
That was before the election, of course. Now that we've had the election, it's, oh no, it's the Scottish and Welsh government and the Irish government that can't fucking do things right. As England falls apart. Right, the last thing we're going to talk about in the Scotland section, David, is wildfires.
Oh, yes.
Huh?
Yeah. Wildfires around about the middle of the year, understandable because everything gets dry and we spark lightning, whatever, bump up it goes, right? But early in the year, most of these wildfires are started off by human beings. Certainly the old Kilpatrick Hills that we border onto, we've seen where crowd of lads have gone up there and sit for previous years, and it's all across the horizon, you know, ridiculous.
No, we've seen that up there and all where people carelessly get rid of a fag and things like that, and before you know it, half the house on fire.
I remember it as a Wayne, the one of the big fields they used to use for football, full of grass and all this, right? And it went up, and it was kids that were doing it. Kids were having a great time, taking bunches of like that hay type grass and going, setting more bits on fire. Till the whole field was gone. There you go.
Well, let's see. What's interesting about wildfires in Scotland is I don't remember many when I was a kid.
I do.
It was like fucking wet.
No, my childhood was always sunny. Is that always sunny out of snow? That's all I remember. I don't remember it.
Well, I remember. And I remember long weeks in caravans in northeast of Scotland where you couldn't get out because it was pissing the rain.
No, I tell you, the worst of the lot was driving through a midget cloud, cycling to Armdale, and it was like going into a black cloud.
I don't know why you would be cycling anywhere. I've got a fucking driving license. I wouldn't cycle anywhere.
I used to be 60 stone in weight. I'm now down to under 20 stone because of the midges. Another half an hour and that I'd have been done.
Hey, you know you're talking fish, a 60 stone cyclist. What were you cycling? Fred Flintstone's fucking motor. Now, let's move on. Trump's tariffs pause and misdirection by the mainstream media.
Yeah. Propaganda by omission again.
Aye, because
propaganda, not by omission this time, leading people down the garden path the wrong way.
Well, anyway, David, it's interesting because all the newspapers, you've seen the review this morning yourself, Trump pause, market bounce. And it's true, I've got the markets in front of me.
Yeah. Well, markets are based upon people going, oh, this is great, we're going to do well, let's get a few more, I'll buy a few more of those IBM shares, please. Yeah.
But the markets have taken a wee bounce. And I was sitting thinking, why have they taken a bounce here in the UK?
Yeah.
Trump hasn't paused his tariffs on the UK. Trump's tariff in the UK was set at 10%. Yeah. And this is it's only the higher ones that's paused, the blanket, 10%.
Just to explain that in case any of you don't get it, right? Last week, we had whiskey. It was 25%. He was adding 10% onto it, made whiskey with a 35% tariff, right? What's changed? Nothing. Whiskey is still 35%.
That's because he had a worldwide blanket tariff of 10%. That's right. Why the penguins in McDonald Island got tariff 10%. Yeah. That's why New Zealand get tariff 10%. That's why the UK get tariff 10%.
Yeah.
That blanket tariff's still there. Yet all our press this morning, Trump 90-day pause, Trump 90-day pause, Trump 90-day pause.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect the UK. We were on the blanket tariff. The 10% on UK goods goes ahead. The 25% on UK cars stays. The 25% in UK metals stays.
Yeah.
So all this, Trump pauses tariff. He does on the rest of the world, or on anybody who is above the 10% blanket tariff. But we weren't above the 10% blanket tariff, because apparently the UK's got a balance of trade surplus with the US. We import a lot of US goods, apparently. So we had the blanket tariff, the baseline that he was putting on the whole planet. That didn't get lifted or paused.
Yeah.
And it's quite clear, the BBC make it clear. What did Trump's tariffs mean to Britain? Go and look it up on the BBC website. They'll tell you how the pause doesn't affect us, because we were on the 10% blanket tariff.
You trying to say to me the BBC told the truth for a change?
On their website, knowing their mainstream broadcasting, that was omission. That was omission. To be fair, Good Morning Scotland, I think I heard it there a couple of times this morning being mentioned that actually there was no pause on tariffs to the UK.
Right. Oh, there you go.
I think this was more about consumer confidence in the UK.
Yeah.
It was about making people believe in the UK that they weren't going to get hit. No, the manufacturers or the producers that are selling to America, they know they're still going to get hit. But absolutely, the way the media is going about this today and the Trump tariff thing, well, we have to look at how it affects here.
Yes.
No, the rest of the world on this one. We need to look at how it affects here.
But we have to
and
keep
one eye. How it affected yesterday.
No, we have to keep one eye open to the horizon to see any of our suppliers or any of our customers that are affected badly by the American tariffs, right? Because it could be a situation whereby it swings and roundabouts. We gain off some, we'll lose off others. Simple as that. Because they themselves have put tariffs up.
Well, that's interesting, because with our world beating food and drink sector today looking for government bailouts.
Yeah.
On the very day where these tariffs were supposed to be suspended. They're not suspended for the UK folks. Just so that you're aware of that. And the inflationary pressures that they will have in the UK will still go ahead. So why our markets are bouncing? Well, I can understand the FTSE 100 because it's on the international stage. The FTSE 250, it's got a foot in both camps, the home stage and the international stage. The FTSE 350, I don't know why it's got a bounce either.
No, see, we report these publicly traded companies, right? That's make up the FTSE, whatever, 100, right? When that goes up the way, right? Me, you, and all of them don't make a penny. In actual fact, we get poorer as a result. because they that trade on the FTSE 100, if it's gone up, by average, they've got more richer. Therefore,
the corporations have got richer than that platform, yes.
Yeah.
And the shareholders in those corporations are getting wealthier as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Which happen to be our pension funds.
Well, your pension funds.
That's right.
Me, I've got Canada Life. It's a tiny wee thing that I get. You know, it's similar as that. You know.
Maybe should have talked to an accountant 40 years ago.
I wish I knew what an accountant was. Anyway.
But so folks, that's a couple of examples of misdirection in the media today. When you look at the mainstream newspapers and the mainstream broadcasters, they're all about pause. And I think it's about consumer confidence. Consumer confidence in America and in the UK is on its arse.
Yeah.
people are no spending. And then, of course, the cuts that's happening here as well means people have less to spend.
Yeah.
And that brings us on to the next thing we want to talk about, and that is Starmer's speech today. Did you hear it?
I saw him being interviewed last night. I didn't hear this one that you heard, but it's ridiculous. It really is.
I haven't done it or put it up, David, but
yeah,
I'll be there on YouTube somewhere. Anyway, he's telling us today that the world is changing, and we just need to suck it up, buttercups. We have to adapt. We're going to get poorer. We have to adapt. We have to accept it. No, we fucking don't.
He's not going to get poorer, is he?
No, we don't. We don't have to accept a changing world. A world that's being changed for us instead of being changed by us.
Yes.
We've spent most of our adult lives campaigning for one cause or another. Trying to make an impact, like we do with this programme and the kind of nations we get through.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, no, we don't have to accept a corporate takeover. No, we don't have to accept the changes that Starmer tells us are coming, or that Trump tells us are coming. No, we don't. We don't have to accept it at all. And what we don't need is politicians like Starmer standing in front of us and telling us, by the way, going to get grim, suck it up, buttercups.
Thanks, Alistair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alistair. I mean, this is what I mean. This is what's wrong with our politics. They are telling us what's going to be perpetrated to us, instead of us telling them how we expect governance to be done.
And I think what we also have to point out is the fact that Scotland becomes independent. It's like you're talking about the distance from where you are to Holyrood, or Holyrood, right? It depends who you are, it's how you pronounce it. And really, that situation is easier. You can jump in the car, go on the train, take a bus, get to the front door of that place and go, oi, you're not doing that. And hopefully, many, many tens of thousands of your friends will be there as well. Yeah, whereas we can't do that. We can't do that with Westminster. We could do it, but at the same time, it's not really practical, is it?
But as I say, the audacity of the man to stand there and tell us, suck it up, buttercups, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
The world's changing, you will adapt.
Yeah.
Who's changing this fucking world? If the world's changing, I want my say.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead right. Obviously you do, right? Same as I want my say.
I'm not having that. Bampo.
The only way we can do that, David, is by becoming an independent republic. That becomes important in that independent republic of Scotland. Something like that. Then you can make it up as you want it. You are.
We don't just have a Scottish audience here, David.
Yeah, I know that.
This is important for the English people as well. In fact, it's important for democracy that these people don't stand and tell us we have to suck it up.
Goodness sake. Right. I appreciate what you're saying. And all, like respect to any English audience that join us here, right? But you're going to understand, guys, it's like, I'm looking at it from the point of Scotland, and it's ridiculous. Well, we have been
put through. We don't need to be sold on independence, David. We already said it's preaching to the converted.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're going out of our many nations. Starmer's statement to us, I dare say, is being said right across the continent of Europe and right around the world at this point in time. And my message is to them all: no, we don't have to accept it. If we're not having a say in it, we don't have to accept it. We don't have to suck it up. And if our governments won't take action, then we will.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of action do you want?
Well, at this stage, I'm advocating a boycott of American goods, of course.
Yeah. Okay. The idea of going to supermarket, say, and anytime you get, well, I'm trying to think of what American goods I see or have seen.
We're talking about mass protest here. We have social media platforms and things like that where these things can be done.
Okay.
You know, but more importantly, it's about directly telling these politicians we have access to them.
Yeah.
Starmer has an email address.
He won't read it.
He doesn't have to read it, David. He just has to somebody get and tell him, by the way, you get 10, 20,000 emails through the box in your box this morning telling you, we're no sucking this up, stand up to Trump.
No, David, your junk folder can be any size at all. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it, but somebody will keep a tally on the email that's coming in and what type of email's coming in.
Okay, more interesting ways of extrapolating information.
Do I expect him to pay much attention to that? No. I expect your local representative for that House of Thieves and Carpet Fire down the road to pay attention, because it's they that are going to take the toll.
That then takes us to another conversation that we're having, reference councillors and Labour councillors who are resigning over the actions of Labour.
And their droves down in England, aye.
Yeah. I did. Well, what effect is that having on MPs on the Labour side within Westminster?
I don't know. What it does tell me is about the turmoil in the party.
No, what they're interested in is actually, are they going to get re-elected?
That's right.
If you look at it from the point of view of, hang on a second, them 20 councillors that have resigned in Nottingham are in my area, they're in my patch.
Are they
putting people off voting Labour? So it does affect Labour.
Of course it does affect them, aye. But they don't need to worry about it for a while.
Oh yeah, appreciate
you know what I mean?
Unless, of course, somebody...
there is real chaos in the Labour Party and it's not been reported.
Yeah.
And there's even more chaos in government as they're getting sued left, right and centre.
Mm-hmm.
Citizens groups are lining up to take them to court.
Yeah.
As you know, we've got the Equalities Commission taking to court who are the change to disability benefits.
Yeah.
And access to benefits. We've just had the citizens group taking to court who are no arresting IDF staff who have come back to the UK, having been to serve in Gaza and committed war crimes.
Yeah.
We even have groups taking the UK government to the UK courts, accusing them of being complicit in war crimes.
Yeah.
They are being challenged in court on the winter fuel payment cut. Things are not going well. And
yet we're not told about it.
No. We can't have the...
Told some, but by and large it's kept quiet from us. Yeah.
You can't have the colonies know that the place that colonises is in total disarray.
Yeah.
And it's in mental breakdown and terminal decline.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen that with a headline this morning with the moral high ground in England and Wales as the king and has bitten the side. You know, that's the moral high ground in England now. That's where we're at.
The queen that the previous queen said was not supposed to be a queen.
No, officially she's queen consort, but they're calling her queen.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. That's disrespectful, isn't it? You know, I'm not a royalist. I can look at it.
Disrespectful, is it? To the people How disrespectful is it to these people who they expect to hold them on high to have a couple of adulteresses at the top of the tree, one a woman, and the other one's the head of the church?
Aye, that's right. Yeah.
That's your moral high ground. No wonder the politics are in disarray. The whole society's a shambles. This Labour government could end up in court more times than the previous Tory administration.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not being reported here.
It should be front news, front page news.
Here in Scotland to let us know, Mother England's in fucking meltdown and we better get away.
It should be on BBC, Sky, ITV, STV, wherever, right? And it should be on the news all the time, right? And it's not. Now, I've got to say, because it's not, these mainstream media idiots should be the next ones that are taken to court and dealt with for feeding the people of these islands that we inhabit a load of shite. End of.
John, they naughty step for having to go to a medical appointment, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Hope the treatment goes well, mate. Now, as I say, there's absolute chaos down that road.
You're right, John.
For some reason, that chaos that affects us deeply, we are not to know about it.
Yeah.
We are still to believe that the coloniser is the mighty, the strength, and knows what it's doing. So can he tell the colony that the end of empire is nigh? Because, as I say, things have went that far down that road that their moral high ground, their church, is headed up by an adulterer.
Yeah.
And we've got an absolute failure of a Prime Minister being portrayed on the world stage, allegedly, as an elder statesman. As he stands and tells us all today, the world's changing, sucker up, buttercups. We are just going to have to adjust. That was an admission of weakness, by the way, folks. That was an admission that the UK is in no position to stand up to anybody on this planet.
Yeah.
That was an admission of weakness. That this shall be perpetrated upon us, and we are not in a position to do anything about it. So suck it up, buttercups. We are going to acquiesce. And he stood in front of us, looking like the elder statesman and the wise statesman, telling us that's how it's going to be.
He always comes across to me as like a headmaster. Yeah.
It's how it's being portrayed. He's an absolute failure. His party's failing. Their policies are absolutely worse than the last Tory governments, with the exception of a few areas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, privatising the NHS is what's happening on the side, because the private sector will take credit for the waiting list going down. They will. That's how they privatised everything else.
I know it's down the rabbit hole.
The subbies do it better than us. We better let the subbies do it all.
David, I know this is down the rabbit hole. We did discuss it, right? But what's the possibility? What's any possibility of world leaders perpetrating this on the world?
This was the other party's admission in his speech today, David, which stunned me. He knows the world's changing, and we're going to have to suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there collusion here?
The world's changing, and we're going to take the rest of the world on in terms of and protect our rights. That is how you expect a leader to speak. That's how you expect Mark Carney. Yeah, Mark Carney to speak in Canada.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all standing up.
Yep.
He's telling us this is how it's going to be, we're going to acquiesce, suck it up, buttercup.
You're all going to get 6 of the best, so you may as well take the books out your underpants now and just deal with it. Simple as that.
But this man, this fraud, is being portrayed as the wise head in choppy waters. As the elder statesman, the wise statesman. As his government and his party falls to fucking bits. But don't tell the people in the colonies.
Yeah.
Honest to God. Well, David, looks like I've ran the course again today.
Yeah, look, guys, we try to fill out for it, and there are certain things that we do get through quicker than we thought, right? Yeah, really, there's no point in stretching this out for the full hour. Lots there for you to think on.
We have 4 minutes left.
Lots there for people to think on, especially the thing about propaganda by omission. That's a big thing. For goodness sake, look up the actual research that's been done for you by the proper people doing the reports and see what they're saying, rather than relying on mainstream media to tell you what they're saying, because then it goes through their filters. Simple as that.
And if you don't know where to look, you can always listen to us. We'll have seen the reports and tell you where to look for it.
Still, we reckon that each one of you has a fiduciary responsibility to, at least on some of the things that pique your interest, to go look yourself.
Aye. And then when this stuff's in the mainstream media and your neighbours are talking about it, say, sorry, no, you're wrong. The research says something different if you bother to go and look, and then point them in the direction of the research.
I mean, what I would love, seriously, I maybe sign my own death warrant here, but I would love for the lot of you go, it doesn't say this, it says that. That'd be wonderful. Really would. Honestly. I'd stand back, I'd be impressed as hell. There you go. And I admit where I'm wrong.
Nathan, do you think there'll be a general election soon? No. Will this administration will we ever see the end of this 5-year term? I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. What's it called?
Will Starmer make it?
Vote of
in the next election? I don't think so. Will Rachel for accounts make it in the next election? I don't think so. I think they are now the peak a Tory party collapse as well. I think Rachel for accounts and Starmer may well be their Bojo and Liz Truss.
What I do is look up the vote of no confidence that took place with the Labour Prime Minister. What's he called again? His name? No, not Wilson.
No, Heath.
No, not Heath. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was after that, and it was the one that was
Callahan.
That's it, right? Look up the history on that, guys, and that'll show you what could happen with Starmer and his whole motley crew. Because in actual fact, when you look at the Labour files produced by Al Jazeera, which is wonderful, I do recommend that everybody reads that or watches that, you realise that the whole thing was put up to take over, to hijack a political party.
Well, it was done.
Yeah, and thereby give another country, we worry about England running Scotland, right? What about Israel running the whole of the UK? Well, there you go. Think about that. So Starmer and his whole motley crew getting bumped out by a vote of no confidence. Can't happen.
No, you might be right. The numbers that will go in Parliament might see them through a full term, but they certainly won't win another one with the policies they're putting in place.
I think if enough Labour MPs see the writing on the wall and see what's going to happen, if they do carry this through much further.
Well, let's put it this way, the local elections in England might help.
Yeah.
Because if Labour take the expected doing, the expected doing that's seen 100 councillors stowing away for the council, and some of them really important people, actually.
Yeah.
And four administrations changing hands. If that's, if Labour take the tank in their duty take, then that might set the amount of MPs off to rebel.
There's the other argument that states that what Starmer could be doing is he could be giving everybody really, really bad news at the moment, right? And then when it gets so far through their term in Parliament, what happens is all of a sudden he's like, right, we've got that sorted. Now we're going to put everything up. We're going to give you more pensions. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to take tax down the way. And everybody's got, oh, that's great. That's
David, but that's not an economic reality. He's not going to be in a position to give the sort of sweeties that would swing a vote towards him.
Just a thought.
I know it's just a thought, but here's another thought. It's 1 minute past 5, dear boy, and I've got work to go to.
What do we do with that 4 minutes, bloody hell?
Folks, thanks for tuning in today. It's good you used to come in for your gardens. After all, it is a really nice day.
Yep.
So wasn't expecting so many in today, but it was over 100 in. David, can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I hope you had a lot of fun today watching us. Serious stuff in the media, though. The media does need a watching, folks.
I need a report on my desk for the end of today for anybody that wasn't here, right? I need to know how much vitamin D you took in as a result of sitting out in the garden, right?
I did see Badenoch's statement, actually. That's for another day. Folks, thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
Look after yourselves. Didn't get to talk about the friendship report.
And you're on the right side. You're on the right bloody side. I mean, I'll give you. I mean, saying, but Mulligan's the good-looking one on the right-hand side. They'll go, he's not good-looking.
I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, boy. Right, bye, David.
Right, bye, David.
Bye,
guys.
Right. Thanks for your super chats. Please hit the like button. Share if you want. Thanks, mods. Bye-bye.